So it's a Adramelech.
Adramelech. So it's a story ultimately about the theme of free will, but it's extremely dark. It's about a Semitic demon that confers or bestows a power to the protagonist that allows him to jump into people's bodies. And then over time, the demon slowly corrupts this person and puts him into a terrible situation at the very end. But at the end of the day, the protagonist is ultimately to demonstrate that free will wins in the end. Winning is a relative term.
Yeah. So now the subject of horror itself, because I'm not really talking to anybody about horror. So what are some of the basic premises of putting together a decent horror story? Because it seems like it's different parameters.
Yeah. So number one is atmosphere. You want to create an unsettling atmosphere, or an atmosphere that's slightly off. Mm-hmm. Then you want to have some sort of a target or an unsettling presence or creature or something that's out of the ordinary that slowly manifests itself throughout the course of the story. Then one thing that and this is debatable, but one thing I personally think separates horror from most things is the endings are typically suboptimal. Right. Either it's suboptimal or just bad. So those three elements, operating with a few others, are kind of the basic things that you want to have in a successful or just an interesting horror story.
Wow. Now you've got a book coming out called Weird World War III. So does that follow this basic theme, or what brought that about? Because when I read the introduction, it was fascinating.
So in addition to having this dark fantasy horror background, I'm also a former military officer. So this effectively combines both themes. So if you read a lot, or you have an interest in fantasy and science fiction, think Tom Clancy meets H.P. Lovecraft and go from there. So the fundamental premise of it is, what if it's also alternative history? So what if the United States had gone to war with the Soviet Union? And what would that have looked like? In addition to that, you add a speculative element, right? So what if the U.S. had gone to war with the Soviet Union, and there was an alien species that inserted itself in the middle of the conflict? What would that look like?